Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Chris, and welcome back to once again another episode of Madden Maniac Previews. How's everyone doing today? Once again, a little reminder that I am recording this a little bit earlier than the actual day that this goes up, and there's a lot that's going to happen between when I record this and when this actually gets uploaded on YouTube. So, I apologize if anything is dated. I'm going to try to, in the description down below, add anything that ends up happening, because I'm going to have this edited as well as ahead of time. But yes, today we're going to be talking about the teams that made it to the divisional round, specifically the Titans and the Falcons, the ones that lost on the Saturday, coincidentally, were the two of the lesser divisional round opponents compared to the two that also lost the round, the Saints and the Steelers, who we'll talk about next episode. But again, if there's anything that ends up happening that, ends up making this stated, I'll try to update it a little once the video is out. So, let us go ahead and do that, or right before the video goes out. Once it's out, then I'm gonna give up working on it altogether. So, so this is not a pairing that I would have expected last year, but nonetheless, here we are. I'm still very surprised about the Titans and what happened last year, and we'll talk more in depth about that for sure as we go on and talk about the Titans first. They are first on the docket. This is the first time I think I'm in the Falcons stadium on Madden. It's pretty neat. It looks good. So yeah, let's talk about the Titans to start things off here. They shocked me last year because I was hyped about them. I was very hyped about them going into the season. I thought that they had a really good shot at winning the division. I just thought there was a really great opportunity for them to have a fantastic year. But as the season kind of dwindled on, it was very evident that the offense was not where it should be. That there was a lot of issues with the offense overall, and that was kind of a disappointment. Specifically, what we knew as the Smash Mouth offense kind of died down. DeMarco Murray did not have much of an impact. In fact, he was inactive for quite a few games, and they had to rely on Henry, who he did well, but there was times where it did not work out. And Marcus Mariota, he was having problems with his mechanics overall. He kept on making a lot of mistakes, and he just was not where he was at in 2016. That team was so good in 2016, didn't make the playoffs. This year they weren't as great, but they did make the playoffs. So I don't know. It's just weird. I will say this: you have Mike Vrabel now there, and I'm gonna talk about him defensively in a second. I'm skeptical about him because he took over for 1 year for a team that was having a rough year overall. The Texans, their defense was not what it was, mostly because the talent was not there. But there is something to like about his personality, and that it can go a long way if you have character and you're able to be a leader. That goes a long way to being a head coach. So I don't think I'm going to knock him on that. But right now, I just think that he hasn't really proven to me that he's led like any great units. Who I think has proven it, or at least has been a product of a great system working under, was Matt LaFleur, who is now with the Titans as offensive coordinator. Last year was the quarterback coach, or I think. No, yeah, he was the quarterback coach and part of the passing game operations with the Rams. And that, if he could bring what he had over there to the Titans, that's going to go a long way, and it's going to help a lot in a lot of different ways. The offense can work really well because you have Marcus Mariota, who I think is still going to be a good quarterback for the Titans. I still have a lot of faith in him. And now you look at the running backs, you have Derrick Henry being the main star, but Dion Lewis being added is going to bring a little extra versatileness to that backfield. And he's looking like the Dion Lewis of old, because last year he wasn't, he kind of had some struggles Um, did not, I don't think was a main reason why the Patriots made it to the Super Bowl. Like kind of like in past years, he was really important to the Patriots team in 2016, and whenever he was on the field, he was a huge factor for them. Um, it wasn't as much the case last year. And he had trouble like breaking tackles like he used to, but this time around, he's starting to look good in the preseason. And if that kind of keeps up, that's going to go a long way to having things working out for them. And then you have the receiving core, which has always been a question for the tight ends. And they're in a rough situation because Rashad Matthews right now is dealing with injury. And he's not, at the moment, he hasn't been starting in the preseason. He might not even start week 1. But Corey Davis has shown growth and shows that he could be a player. But another player to look at is Taylor, who's right now going to be the starter in place of Rashad Matthews. But he has had a really strong preseason overall, has been a big part of the offense. And that he is going to be someone to watch as someone that, along with Corey Davis, will be a very young tandem, but will go a long way to being weapons that Marcus Mariota can use often, in addition to his usual weapon in Delaney Walker. Who, by the way, I think they gave him an extension, if I'm not... or they are planning on giving him an extension at some point. I don't know. He needs to be extended. That's all I know right now, because he's the most reliable receiver on that team. He is a Pro Bowler. He is one of the great tight ends in the league right now. You need to keep him around. So, I think that's gonna be really important. Then you have the offensive line, and right now, there is concern right now regarding the current presence of Jack Conklin. He hasn't been there because he hurt himself in the playoff game against the Patriots. I believe it was a torn ACL. So he's not fully recovered yet. Right now, Dennis Kelly is who they traded with Eagles to get is right now starting at right tackle, and you have Josh Klein, Ben Jones, and Quentin Spain on the middle there, and then you have Taylor Lewan. Now Taylor Lewan, you can rely on. He's always been a good offensive lineman, and as a left tackle, he's gonna be a great anchor for this team. The problem is going to lie right now with the rest of the line, and especially if Jack Conklin does not come back, because he had a great season last year, or at least he was coming back. He started to develop into a good player, but he's now dealing with injury. Hopefully, he can come back healthy and protect Marcus Mariota. So I think that's my big concern for this team right now is the offensive line, and I guess a little bit the wide receiver core, but not too much. I mean, because they still have Tajay Sharp, who's shown many flashes before. So I'm not too worried about that unit. But again, we need to see a little bit more of all of them going forward. But this offense under Matt LaFleur, I think, is going to be really good because they're going to take some of the new age concepts from his time with the Rams. They're going to use a lot of RPOs probably, and they're going to build something nice there that Mike Mularkey was simply not going to do while he was as the head coach. He had a great 2016. The offense as a whole had a great 2016, but that does not. It's the different with from year to year, because once 2017 hit and certain people were not healthy and just certain people just kind of had some extra speed bumps, people started to figure out how the hell to combat Mike Mularkey's system, and then it all falls apart. So that's what happened with him. Now with Mike Vrabel, if he is truly the guy going forward and he's going to be great defensively, that's gonna be really important for this team that has had a lot of great defensive players, but hasn't really been among the amazing defenses yet. But I think this is a good year for them. Look at the line first. You have Daquan Jones. I haven't seen a lot from him, but we'll see how it goes. Benny Logan and Jarrell Casey. Now Benny Logan, he's been bouncing around But whenever he starts, he is a main factor. He's pretty good. But of course, Jarrell Casey's the guy that you want to look at because he is the main guy, I guess the face of this front seven. He is always stuffing the run. He is always in the face of the quarterback. He's getting there all the time. He is a main part of this defense. And I think that'll remain this way going forward. Then you have the Derek Morgan, Wesley Woodland, Will Compton, and Brian Orakpo. Now, they did lose, unfortunately, Avery Williamson to the Jets, and that was a big part of that linebacking core. However, Derek Morgan has performed very well. I think he's finally starting to find his legs in this defense, and Brian Orakpo has always been a very good player. And Wesley Woodyard as well, I think is a very good player. He's been doing well for the team. So the linebacking core is not amazing, but all of them are kind of developing into a good group. And they just traded for Kamali Correa, who I think will definitely help them in the linebacking core as well. And then you have the secondary, and this is the big part of this team this year. So you of course have Logan Ryan returning from last year, who had his moments. I think that there was a lot more concern. There's a lot more concern for him than good. Like, I think that he has moments, and this was the same thing with when he was with the Patriots too. He had moments that he was making plays, that he was doing extremely well, but then there was moments that he gave up a lot of easy pass coverages. So he's on and off for me. But then you have Kevin Byard, who was a first-team All-Pro, and was a league leader in interceptions. He was very, very, very good last year, and for some reason didn't get enough credit, I guess because he was on the Titans. But he is becoming a very, very important player for this team. He's going to be leading the secondary. But someone that they added is one Malcolm Butler. Malcolm Butler is now on the Titans, and it is going to be fun to see how he does. Because I think that despite having down years in recent times, he's still been a relatively good corner. Outside, like think Logan Ryan, where he gave up really easy situations. I don't think Malcolm Butler hasn't really done a lot of that. He's been a really good at his position, but there's, I guess, been off the field stuff because of what happened before the Super Bowl. Everyone's wondering where the hell Malcolm Butler was, and people are saying, oh, well, he was out, he broke curfew, or he was sick and he was having problems, whatever. There's a whole lot of things that was happening there. I can't really, I don't really know what's happening on that front, but I do think that Malcolm Butler is going to be a great addition to this team, and they're going to make the secondary better. And, of course, they do also have Adoree Jackson, who I think has a chance to overcome Logan Ryan at some point. He's not sitting behind him on the roster spot, but that doesn't really matter. He's a backup cornerback that's going to do good things, I think. So that's that. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to address. Ryan Suckup is still a good kicker. For sure. Now, look, with this Titans team, last year I shot on them a lot because I just felt like they weren't that great. And, of course, they ended up doing some great things. My thing is that I don't want a team that is boring to go to the playoffs. And a team that could easily be beaten by a truly amazing team, I don't want to see go into the playoffs. I want to see a team that is going to have... I want to see a team that's going to put up a fight. And I felt like there's times where the Titans just did not put up enough of the fight to win. And they proved me wrong a few times down the stretch, especially against... the Chiefs and that upset, which was truly awesome. I loved that game. But it made me sad because I knew what was going to happen against New England, and I was hoping to be wrong then too, and I wasn't. I just want a team that can compete. And I want a team that can show itself to be a force to be reckoned with. Because the talent is there. It's there. It's not deep, and it certainly could be affected if anyone goes down with an injury. But there is something there with the Titans, and I think that they have something to look forward to there. They have tough competition, though. They're in a division with the Jaguars, obviously. I mean, they swept the Jaguars last year. they beat the Jaguars fair and square. So that's something to be a little optimistic about, is that they could do that again if they can't figure out, Jaguars can't figure out a way to beat this Titans team. But then they also have the Texans coming back. And we remember what happened with the Texans. They dropped I believe they almost dropped a 50 burger, or they did drop a 50 burger on the Titans. Unfortunately, it was not a good game. That was with Deshaun Watson healthy. So I would be concerned about this team overall. I am hoping. Let me see. Actually, I want to look up the score of that game. I'm hoping that this year that they're going to be able to take things on more. Yeah, it was 57-14. That was your final score, guys. Titans got better this offseason, but so did the Texans. So they need to be able to beat the Texans. If they can't beat the Texans, they're not going to make the playoffs. And that's going to be a serious thing. And you need to see development from Marcus Mariota. He has to get better with his throwing mechanics and not throwing easy interceptions. He has to get better. He's always been great at running the football. Continue to do that, but don't put him in super dangerous situations because you worry about his health. His injury issues are also a serious concern. So I would try to protect him as much as possible. But if throwing the football works, go for it. This is a team that can go the distance in the playoffs if the talent is used correctly, and if it all basically works together very well, the system works well, because it should work out. And they have a really good secondary, in my opinion, that will be able to stop a lot of the high flying offenses. Should easily be able to stop Bortles, but could stop Luck and should stop Watson as well. They have a front seven that I think is still developing, but could still work really well for the team as a whole. I have a lot of confidence in what they're doing. I don't want a repeat of last year where they let me down while at the same time going really far into the playoffs. Or at least when I say really far, I mean it's going halfway through. You made it to 2 playoff games. That's pretty good. They did end up making it to the point that I would want them to be, as someone who would root for them, but they did not seem like a playoff team overall. But they beat playoff teams. They beat the Jaguars twice. They almost beat the Rams. That was a very close game. And then they beat the Chiefs when the playoffs actually started. So it's like, you never know. You never know what can happen. Everything can change. But I really just want this team to be exciting this year. They got an easy test right out of the gate with the Dolphins. If they take care of the Dolphins and they do well in that game, then we'll see how the future holds. But I think that's going to be a really good start for them. I think that the Titans play the Texans the week after. So that's going to be the big test for that team. Is how did they respond to what was kind of a weird year for them, and grow from there. Yeah, they host the Texans and then they go to Jacksonville, so that's a big early test. And Dolphins are the easy. It's a penalty kick for you, but then you got the Texans. You host the Texans. Then you have to go to Jacksonville, face the Jaguars, and then you have to host the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. That's a tough road to start. But if they could come out of that with 2 or 3 wins, that's going to be excellent for them. I think they can afford to lose one of those games, not a bunch of them. And then it kind of calms down for a second. They face the Bills. Then it might get a little bit more tougher facing the Ravens and the Chargers. Calms down a bit with the Cowboys. Then they have to face the Patriots. Then calms down again with the Colts. Then the Texans. Then they have to go back to Houston and face their 57-14 fear. And and then they face the Jets. Then they host the Jaguars again on Thursday Night Football. Then they go to the Giants, come back home, and host the Redskins and Colts. It's not the worst schedule, but it certainly is not among the easiest. And so a lot to see from this team. I think that they also, by the way, the uniforms. I do like the new uniforms. They're very interesting. I do like the sword shoulder pads a lot. I don't love the helmet as much. I feel like I'm not gonna be able to get used to the fact that they have like a darker helmet now. But I like that they changed it up a little bit. By the way, the font. The font on the number, I never really gave a shit about the fonts on the team, although right there it kind of looks weird. It's not like the best font in the world, but like that's not gonna make me think it's an ugly outfit, but I do like the sword shoulder pads and like the sword in the middle of the helmet. The darkness of the helmet bothers me a little bit, but I could get over that. But yeah, I like that. I like the uniform a lot. I think it's gonna be good. I like the Jaguars changes a lot more because I think they are more kind of just going back to their original uniforms. This was a drastic change that the Titans overcame, or underwent rather. But it's not too bad. It could be worse, I think. It could have been much worse. I think they were actually looking at, like, a camo look at one point. Like, there's some weird shit happening there. Rumors that were coming out. I have not enjoyed camo. Camo is overplayed. I don't need to see so much of it. You have camo every fucking November. You don't need to have it on your uniform permanently. Give me a break. But yeah, I think I'm most excited for this Titans team. The player I think I'm most excited about seeing is Kevin Byard and seeing how much he grows, because he stood out last year, and I feel like he still has a chip on his shoulder, because there is a lot of stuff that happened in the offseason, like, Deion Sanders fucking forget that Kevin Byard existed, and was talking to him as if oh well, you're just a fan of the game, but meanwhile he's an all-pro. This was all over Twitter, and it was such a ridiculous thing. I just think that he could be could be the best safety in the league if everything goes according to plan. Also, I just realized that I have 6 minutes listed here instead of 7. My bad. Well, I ran out of things to talk about anyway for the Titans. Who's more likely to make the playoffs? I'm going to lean towards the Falcons on this one, even though it's a deeper NFC. I do like the Falcons a lot, and let's talk about them. Falcons, to me, are at a point where they are so deep, and their offseason was basically not about signing anyone or getting any major draft picks or anything like that. It was all about keeping the ones that are already on the roster and extending them for multiple years. Matt Ryan got an extension. Julio Jones kind of got an extension. You had the head coach and the general manager also get extensions. You saw a few of the defensive players get extensions as well. So there's so many players that got extensions. A bunch of the offensive linemen. I think Jake Matthews got an extension. So there are so many people that they worked on keeping for the long term that it makes you think that this team won't just compete this year. It's going to compete next year, and it's going to compete the year after that, and the year after that. Matt Ryan is a very, very good quarterback, and last year was not his best. But I think that he is going to get back to the way that getting. He got back into that 2016 form. I think he's going to keep that form going into this season, especially since he has so many weapons around him. Because, of course, you have the return of Julio Jones. I don't even need to discuss Julio Jones. He's just an amazing, amazing wide receiver. Mohamed Sanu also returns, has been a great wide receiver too for them. And you have the addition of Calvin Ridley, who was your first round draft pick, a great receiver from Alabama, who is going to be a wide receiver 3 at the moment. It's going to fill maybe the Taylor Gabriel role for a little bit, but he is going to be a future maybe wide receiver 2 or maybe a wide receiver 1 at some point, if let's say something happens with Julio Jones. But I think he's going to be reliable, and it's going to make the offense much more high flying than it was last year. Then, of course, you have the running back situation, which is still the head of the running back situation. Of course, Devontae Freeman has been a really, truly great running back for this team. And Tevin Coleman also is back. You think that one of these days these guys are going to be traded. I'm talking now. That might have happened with this team. Who knows? That during the last few days that things could drastically happen. But if they keep them on, I think that they're in good shape. I do think that they have a good third running back in Alex Smith. He was a record breaker with what was it? Southern Mississippi. Yeah, that's right. He was incredible in college, and so he might play a factor moving forward as well. So that's just someone to keep an eye on. But I just think that this team and the weapons that they have around it and the offensive line, with Jake Matthews still playing very well, hasn't really been too much of a Pro Bowler, but he's played well at his position. You still have Alex back at center. You still have Andy Levery, Wes Schweitzer, and Ryan Schrader. I believe they lost someone. Someone did retire from the offensive line, and forgive me because I am forgetting who that was or where they're from. But that could hurt the team. But I think that they are so deep in the other two positions, the left tackle and the center, and I think that's going to make the rest of the line work out well. I think the right side of the line might be the only concern, but that I wouldn't be too concerned about it. I think that the rest of the talent around the team is going to make it better no matter what. So that's still going to work out. You still have the big thing, though, is Steve Sarkisian. He's the offensive coordinator. And last year, I think that the struggles with him really showed. But I think that as the season progressed, you started to see the kind of the 2016 Falcons come back to light. And you started to see that team make a push to really be dominant again, at least on that side, especially on that side of the ball. And it kind of fell apart against the Eagles, but I think that now they've had a full off-season of working with Steve Sarkisian and understanding his system. And he's had a year to kind of learn the ropes of the NFL because he's been more common on the college football level, and now things could come together here, and I think they will. The defense is very underrated, and a lot of people are going to be talking about the defense, but I think Dan Quinn has built, Dan Quinn and of course Thomas Dimitroff. I think all of them they've all kind of worked together to build what is becoming a very good young defense. In fact, with the sole exception of Terrell McClain, every single one of these guys on the roster are draft picks from the Falcons, or at least on the starters at least. Because right now on the starting line you have Takaris McKinley, Grady Jarrett with Terrell McClain, and Vic Beasley. Vic Beasley, we know him. He's going to be so dominant. Takaris McKinley is going to make a leap this year, I think. He had a rookie year. Didn't play lights out, but he's getting there. He will play pretty well going forward. Grady Jarrett has been doing very well, especially in the absence of other players. When he would have to step up, he stepped up and he played out of his mind. I think that he got an extension or is in line for an extension. He's very good. Terrell McClain, he's been kind of a journeyman or kind of working around, but he is now going to be on this team, and I think that he will play an impact on them. on them going forward. The linebacking core, Deion Jones is still a really good player. I had a lot of fun watching him his rookie year. I think he certainly made his mark last year too. Not too much, but pretty good. I think he's going to play a huge role this year. Duke Riley is going to be opposite him, and Devontae Campbell as well next to him. So those are the two guys on the either side of him that I think that I would like to see a little bit more growth from both of them, but will certainly be a factor. And then the secondary, Robert Alfred and Desmond Trufant. It's another tandem that I think could rival the best tandem in the league. When both are healthy and both are kicking ass together, they are really good. And unfortunately, we did not get to see a lot of Desmond Trufant last year. And Robert Alfred, a little bit, we haven't seen a lot from him either. Or I think that we didn't see as much from him either last year, as far as I remember. But I think that they have the talent going forward to do really amazing things, and it reminds me a little bit of, you know, when Dan Quinn was working as the defensive coordinator with the Seahawks, and he had the children. Oh, he did start 16 games. Who am I thinking of then? Robert Alford. I'm mistaken then. I apologize, guys. Robert Alford, and Desmond. I think I'm just thinking of Desmond Trufant. The two of them together are going to work really well. Robert Alford especially because he had that big play against the Patriots in 2016, and he has developed into being a corner that isn't one to battle with. So I think that, and Desmond Trufant has in the past has shown that he could be that guy. So I think they're going to be two guys that are really tough to battle against. Keanu Neal, he's also very good. He's also he's the youngest of this group, or at least the newest member of this group still from 2016 when he was drafted. He's developed into a great player. Ricardo Allen as well, although I think that Ricardo Allen, if I'm not mistaken, might have been suspended last year, or I think he started last year. Something happened. There was someone that got suspended of this group. Now I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Robert Alford? Hold on. Maybe that's what I was thinking of with him. Shit. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm thinking of someone completely different. It was Jalen Collins, who he's not even with the team anymore. So never mind. I don't know shit, guys. I'm struggling here. But no, Ricardo Allen has also been a huge factor at the safety position. So, I really like the secondary. I think that if you have a truly great secondary, and Dan Quinn again being your defensive coordinator, will be a huge factor moving forward. And you know, as far as I know, the Dan Quinn, he was the defensive coordinator when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl that year. Again, if I'm not mistaken, I know that they did have. I know Gus Bradley was at one point the defensive coordinator, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, he went to the Super Bowl both years of his defensive coordinator run, and so he has a good secondary. He has a good pass rush overall. This could be a really good defense this year, and so there's a lot of hope in the air on that front. I think that the Falcons could make a huge leap if their defense works out well and their offense gets to the level back to the level that 2016 was. Which I think they could. They very well could. I think this is a really, really, really good team. One that could rival the Rams, as I was talking about yesterday. You know, the Rams I was praising up and down, but I think the Falcons have a good shot too to take them down again. I think the unfortunate part about with the Rams and the Falcons last year when they played in the playoffs was that the Falcons had more experience, and I think at the time had a little bit more talent too, despite the fact that the Rams had the stars that they did. The Falcons don't have a ton of they have the big names on the offense. They don't have a ton of big names on the defense, but they are great, big, good players, you know. So I think that could, if the Falcons and Rams have to meet each other again in the playoffs, that's going to be an important factor going forward. I think this team has a very good shot at winning the NFC South title. The Falcons. I truly think that they're in a good shot, but they have to at least split the series against the Saints. They have to do something with the Saints, to want to get that title. But I don't think the wild card's not going to be too hard to reach, because they don't have relatively hard schedules. Because again, I think outside of the Saints, you have a good shot against the Panthers. I think they could beat the Panthers. They should be able to beat the Buccaneers. They get to face the NFC East, with the Eagles being at the forefront of that division. That's going to be very tough to beat the Eagles, but it won't be terrible. I think that they could put up a good fight. And they also have to face the Steelers and the Ravens, and I think that will be difficult. But again, I have confidence in the Falcons that they could, and they do have a good shot against them. They also have to face the Packers in the NFC North. They have to face although they have to face if they have to face the Cardinals, I think that they have to do that later on. That will be easy. The Packers might be a little difficult with Aaron Rodgers, but they've been able to take care of that team in the past. So I think this team is going to be really good and has a really good shot at winning it all. And what a great feeling that would be for Atlanta to win the Super Bowl in Atlanta. Imagine that. Like, that could be insane. But this team has the talent to do so. Look how close the Minnesota Vikings got. I think the Falcons could do that. It's there. But the talent just has to remain healthy. And that's at the core of it. You just have to have a healthy team. Excuse me. Yeah, that's my thing with this team. I am very confident that the Falcons could do really, really wonderful this year. And if they don't, I'll eat my words. But I feel like what would have to happen is that Steve Sarkisian just fucking stinks up the joint, or injuries ruin this team. I am hoping that neither happens. If it has to be one, I'd rather Steve Sarkisian be the one that was at fault, and not a player getting hurt. I just am not like. Look, the guy spent one day as the Alabama offensive coordinator, during the national title game that he lost, and then the Falcons were like, hey, let's bring you on as offensive coordinator. I don't think he was ready for that. I think it kind of came out of nowhere. And so I think that this is, if he is truly a great play caller, that you have to prove it this year, because this isn't you don't really have a lot of excuses to lose with this unit. So we'll see how that all ends up working out for them. And then the Falcons, I'm trying to think, dude. They opened up against the Eagles, and that's gonna be a wonderful fucking game. Falcons at Eagles is gonna be a great game. I'm so excited for that being the Thursday night game, because in my mind just now I was like, that's kind of interesting. What's happening? Where are the players? That was funny. I was not expecting that at all. Anyways, I was thinking about that, like, I wonder when the Eagles actually face the Falcons. I'm like, fucking duh, they face each other Thursday Night Football. That's gonna be a wonderful game. I was hoping at first it was gonna be against the Vikings, but if you think about it, that was not that exciting of an NFC Championship or a rematch. And I think that the Falcons put up a better fight against the Eagles. It really came down to that Julio Jones missed catch in the divisional round. That is going to be super fucking cool. Such a cool matchup to see, because I think it's going to be two really balanced units playing against each other. The Falcons have a really good shot, too. I think especially the fact that I don't mean to shit on Nick Foles, because he's definitely proven everyone wrong at this point. But he did have a really good preseason. And if he plays like that against the Falcons, the Eagles don't really stand a chance. It's a deep group, though, and the Eagles have proven that they can outcoach anyone. But that would be my skepticism. But it's going to be a great game, and I'm super excited. That's an awesome way to kick off the season. And that's going to be coming up in just a few days. And for me, it's a week away, but for you guys, it's like 5 days. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Touchdown Jones. That was the thing with Julio Jones last year, too, is that he didn't score a ton of touchdowns, which I think that was why there was a lot of outcry about Steve Sarkis' job. But I think this year they'll learn their lesson, and he'll be good. I like how they don't have Mike Vrabel programmed into the game, by the way. I'm realizing it. I'm looking at it now. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? What is happening? Oh, man. This game, you gotta hand it to them. They still figure out a way to make it as glitchy as possible. As good as it looks overall, they still figure out ways to make it fucking weird as shit. So, I don't know. I would love to. I want to rearrange rosters on Madden too. I feel like that could be a lot of fun to just. I don't know. It's not easy to do because you have to factor in cap room and all that. But if those restrictions were not there, I'd make some wild ass teams. I'd like randomize everything. It'd be fun. Yeah, but between these two teams, and I guess the comparison between the two of them, both of them are trying to find their offense again. The Titans wanting to go from mediocre to great, and the Falcons looking going from amazing to back to good, and then going back to that amazing offensive play calling, because they were one of the greatest offenses to ever play, and they lost the Super Bowl. But they could do it now. If they could do it this year, if they have an amazing offense with that deep of a defense, they're going to be a good fucking team. They're going to be good. It's going to be great. But that's all my comparison for them. Outside of that, I'm not too sure. My God, Marcus Mariota, he's just going. And I think it will be wonderful to see the Falcons go far. I'm curious about the Titans though this year. The Titans I have a lot of questions about, but I think that they're going to be good this year. I truly do think they're going to be a good team. But the question is, will I be proven wrong? Again, and I'll be proven wrong, but then they'll still figure out a way to make it to like the AFC Championship game or something, like something ridiculous like that. It was such a weird year last year, such a weird year, and the Titans absolutely were part of that for sure. Now they're in field goal range, huh? So now I feel like this is gonna go to overtime. Shit, I can't do it anymore, guys. Why? That's the worst. Especially when I have nothing else left to say for any of this shit. Alright, let's just commentate. Oh. There's a Falcons timeout. Alright, come on. Someone block the kick in the game, please. Anyone? Anyone, please? Oh, man. By the time you guys see this, college football will already be underway. I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I talked a little bit about that in yesterday's episode. At the time, I made my predictions, and I stand by my predictions. But I don't know if at this point, if you're watching this and if Auburn's losing by 40, then I completely regret picking them. I will eat my words. It's totally fine. Oh, they missed it. Hey, all right. Thank you so much. You saved me from fucking having to bullshit. And of course, there's 1 second left on the clock. They couldn't have just gone to fucking 0. This has to have 1 second on the clock. Ugh. This game sucks. Anyways, but they're playing in this stadium. They're Washington Auburn. They're playing in this stadium, Mercedes-Benz, not the Superdome, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's so weird. Why would Mercedes-Benz be the name of the Atlanta Stadium and the name of the New Orleans Superdome? Come on, man. New Orleans has to find a new sponsor. They betrayed them. How dare they? Get someone like, I don't know. I always want like a weird one. Like avocados from Mexico Superdome. Like just something weird. I would absolutely appreciate that. Something exciting, you know, with the Superdome. Or, you know, the Superdome is so famous though, do you need to have a title sponsor? I don't think so. You don't have to have a title sponsor for that famous of an arena. You know. Just putting it out there. Alright. And why is it that these games that play out, and I understand they're shortened games overall, but there's just so few rushing yards from the running backs. They all the running backs, regardless of the talent, they just struggle like hell to do anything. All right. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Be good to one another. Be kind to one another. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.